this hush money payment was made, this legal payment was made when Donald Trump was president. What do you expect Judge Merchan to do with this?
Well, Judge Merchan has, he should have recused off of this case. We believe that he's irretrievably conflicted. He hasn't given us much love during the pendency of this trial, but we think this legal issue is actually pretty open and shut. The Supreme Court said yesterday that they are not allowed to use as evidence immune acts, and there were immune acts that were introduced as evidence. So we believe that that warrants a mistrial and potentially a retrial. And we'll see what happens. But there are so many constitutional irregularities in that New York trial. This is just another instance where that New York prosecution violated the law. And we feel as though our chances on appeal are very, very strong. So we'll see how this plays out in the coming weeks.
So our country is what? Over 240 years old now. We've never had to question this. We've always just assumed that presidents have immunity for things that they do while they're in president. Not to the extent that Richard Nixon says when a president does something, it's not against the law. I think there's some common sense that needs to be incorporated here. But Will, how much of this 6-3 decision do you think is a direct reaction to this new era of lawfare, Biden lawfare, that we are now in?
Yeah, if you listen to Joe Biden's comments yesterday, he tried to make out what the Supreme Court did yesterday as something new and novel. There's actually a line of case law going back to the very dawn of the Republic suggesting that a president's official acts are not reviewable by the courts. That's literally in Marbury v. Madison, one of the seminal early cases of the Supreme Court. The only thing new and novel here is the weaponization of prosecution, in this case against a former president, by Joe Biden and his political allies. So I think the Supreme Court, more than anything else, was trying to reestablish some normalcy. This is a huge blow to the Biden campaign of lawfare against President Trump, and it's absolutely justifiable. The situation that we're dealing with is absolutely absurd. Joe Biden and his allies seem committed to contesting this election in the courtroom instead of at the ballot box, and that's just wrong. That's not the way we do things in this country.
Yeah, at the very least, this guts Jack Smith's case. It's pretty clear that we're not going to have a trial, at least there or in Georgia or in the documents case, before November the 5th, if ever, at this point. Just a quick question, about 30 seconds, and I've asked this question since the debate. Sentencing happens on July the 11th. I know that you and Todd Blanche, Trump's attorney in Lower Manhattan, are close. I know you've worked together in the past. Joe Biden had probably the worst performance in debate history, certainly modern debate history, on Thursday night. You know that Juan Merchan is aware of that. So now they've really got to get Donald Trump. Do you think, and I know on the surface and as an attorney, the answer is no, because a judge should be impartial. We know when Donald Trump, these people are not impartial. It's called Trump law. Law is different for Donald Trump than everybody else. Do you think that bad debate performance impacts Judge Mercan's decision with what to do with Donald Trump on July 11th?
Look, I think Judge Merchan is a politically biased actor. I'll tell you, though, it doesn't really impact our decision on what to do next. We're going to vigorously challenge any judgment imposed because that trial in New York should be overturned. So our path forward is clear. We are going to continue defending
But
President
Will,
Trump.
sorry to cut you off. You see what I'm asking? Like, do you think that because of that brutal debate performance, they got to lock Donald Trump up, and now Merchan puts Trump in jail in 9 days?
President Trump is not going to jail. I think all of these political actors on the left are in full-on panic mode, and I fear for what they're going to do as a result. I think there's a real desperation setting in on the left, and lawfare may be the only card they have left in their hand. That's a very scary situation for the Republic, and that's why we're going to keep fighting for President Trump.